Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy Duncan, intuitive medium and host of Behind the Scenes with the Rescue Mediums. For anyone unfamiliar, Rescue Mediums was a hit TV series that was filmed from 2006 to 2011 and can still be seen in many countries around the world and on veryparanormal.com and on YouTube. Mediums would visit people's homes that were disturbed by spirit and rescue them into the light. Please help me welcome 4 people that made this groundbreaking series such a success. Edna, Dargie, Director of Research. Michael Lamport, producer, narrator, writer, actor. Jackie Dennison, rescue medium, international clairvoyant medium and psychic artist. And Alison Wynne-Ryder, rescue medium, international quirky medium, and author of the 2012 book, The Quirky Medium, The Extraordinary Life of an Unlikely Clairvoyant. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Thanks for all coming back. This is number 11. Very exciting.
Yay.
We're still kind of in lockdown, but things are getting better, and we still got questions, so people are watching, which is terrific.
Good.
If it's okay with everyone, we'll just hop right in. We have a question for Alison, and then Alison and Jackie from Leslie. She says, Alison, you talk about how you work with angels. Can you explain the difference between spirit guides and angels? And then we'll do the second part of the question.
Yeah, sure. Spirit guides, our spirit guides have inhabited a human body, so they have lived on the earth plane, and many may have been incarnated many times before. And who better to help us on our spiritual path than our spirit guide, because they understand how we feel, you know, even if we're feeling down, if we're not feeling well and all of that, they understand those emotions, because obviously when they were on the earth plane, they would experience similar. Whereas the angels are beings of light, so they've never inhabited a human body. But having said that, they can show themselves to anyone in whichever form they wish to. So, you know, you've probably heard of many stories about, you know, people who are in the middle of nowhere, they've run out of petrol, and then this person comes along and helps them. And when they go to say thank you, they've gone. So, you know, because the last thing they want to do is to frighten us. So that's the difference between spirit guides and angels.
And for both of you, Leslie continues, for both of you, do you feel that your psychic experiences have deepened your faith in God or changed it?
I separate religion from spirituality. I do believe in God, and I believe in Jesus as a wonderful healer and a wonderful medium. And so that is the approach that I take when I'm connecting with Jesus, because I do connect with Jesus and I do connect with God. God to me is a light being, a light force, a power that's greater than all of us. And I actually call God the Great White Spirit. So I've always been interested in religion. As a child, as a youngster growing up, I was very, very interested. But as I've got older, I've separated the religion part from the spirituality part, although the two do go together, of course, as well. I know, Alison, you've got quite a religious background, haven't you, with Sunday school and things?
Yeah, it's when me and my sister Carol were little, we had to go to Sunday school every week and every Sunday. And what was explained to us was that God sits on a throne in heaven. And when I was little, I mean, you believe everything that you're being told. So I saw God as like this big human being sitting on a throne in heaven, maybe with angels around him and so on. But obviously, as I grew older, for me, I believe that God lives in each and every one of us. So God is energy, and I've learned that more through the healing that I do with Reiki, and particularly angelic Reiki. So I believe that God is the Christ consciousness, which is the pure energy within the universe. So I do believe that there is a force obviously bigger than us. Like you, Jackie, I so believe in Jesus, and the Ascended Masters are a massive part of angelic Reiki, and I've seen him and I've felt him around me. But although I know that God now isn't, or how I feel and sense that God isn't sort of like a big human being sitting on a throne in heaven, I do believe in that energy, and I do connect with that energy. But when I'm praying and when I'm asking for help, I don't use the terminology God. I ask the universe to help me and the angels to help me. That's just the way that I work. So yes, it has changed for me from being a little girl in what I believe, and I would say more what I know. So, you know, I think that we only went to Sunday school to get on my mum's hair. I think it was a day when she could just have a bit of peace without me and my sister arguing. But I did enjoy it. I must say I did enjoy it. Met different friends there. My cousin, who's like a sister to me, went, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, definitely the thought of God, but not sort of in a religious term, really.
Moving on. I don't know the context of this question. This question is from Ian, and it is, why would spirit break a vase? Or maybe
I saw that one.
Yeah, or maybe in rescue mediums, did you have an encounter with a spirit where something was, I know things got turned on and moved, but was anything broken?
I think it was in the tea rooms, wasn't it? No, that was a cupboard door opening, and they got that on camera, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything being broken, certainly not in the series that I did with you, although I am clumsy and I did knock into things and bang my head a lot and stuff. But the vase being broken, I would say it depends what has happened around that. I mean, have they had unexplained activity? And if they have, then that might be the spirit trying to attract their attention. Or is it, I don't know, or is somebody on the earth plane knocked the vase over and blamed it on spirit? I don't know. It could be a number of different things, I suppose. What do you think, Jackie?
Well, yeah, exactly the same thing. I also saw that question. I thought, well, it's a very good question to ask, because
it is.
You know, it's like, why is the picture fallen off the wall? Why has you know, why did the door suddenly open? You know, there could be a number of reasons, and I think in the case when you're working like we work with spirit, we find out, we rule out first what's happening physically. So is there a physical reason why that's happened? I mean, did the vase already have a crack in it? That, you know, is it temperature in the room, sudden temperature changes that have caused it to do that? Has somebody knocked it and, as you say, don't want to admit that they've done that? Or was there just a weak point in the vase anyway, you know? And then the other thing is, if you rule all of that out, is like, has anything significant happened to you recently? What makes you think that spirit have done this, you know? So there's lots of questions I would ask before I would say that spirit have done that. I was in a property once that a mirror, a huge big mirror, had fallen off the wall, and it was literally on the floor. It was a heavy mirror. Now, if it was going to fall, it would have fallen either boom and then downwards, or it would have fallen forward, because it was on one of those metal chains at the back, so it was hanging forward, and the chain was still intact, the nail was still in the wall. So was there a reason why that happened? Had there been a sudden earth tremor that had caused it to sort of slowly move forward? You know, but in the same property there was definitely spirit activity there, because ornaments off the same wall were literally picked up and put down. Nothing was ever broken. It was as if they were saying, I'm here, pay attention to me. And we got to the bottom of who was doing it and why they were doing it, but that was spirit activity. It takes some force to move an object, as you know, for spirit.
You know, it's just reminded me when I was a single parent with Lauren, when she must have been about 15 at the time. There was just the two of us in the house. It's you saying about pictures falling off the wall, Jackie, and it just reminded me. And I was just watching telly downstairs, and she was upstairs, you know, in a bedroom reading before she went to bed. And all of a sudden I heard this bang, slap, and this scream from her, and I must have run up the stairs in 2 leaps. And I went in, and she had her knees up like this in the bed, and she was pointing to the wall. There was no windows open or anything, and a big picture off the wall had just gone on the floor. But the picture of her granddad that was on the ledge fell forward on top of the picture, as if whoever it was there, the spirit of him was protecting her. And she was petrified. She ended up that night in bed with me because she was frightened. But I sometimes think that when, you know, when teenagers are about that age, especially if they are sensitive, there can be, and then of course with what I do as well, but you know, there was a lot going on in that house, but there was nothing, no spirit stuck or anything. It was just that just happened. And it was really odd. So who knows?
I think sometimes, not to, because I agree with both of you about this, the spirit aspect, but I sometimes wonder, only because I have one, and I know that everybody, I think, maybe except for Sandy has one, maybe it's cats.
Yeah.
Because my cat this morning looked at a spot on the wall, nothing on the wall, but just was transfixed by it. And I have no idea what he was seeing, because I looked and went, okay, what is it? And he wouldn't react to me. And I don't know. So I think he's probably planning something. So he's probably going to knock a vase off of my table today.
They're very intuitive, though, animals, aren't they?
Yes.
They can sense and feel things that perhaps we can't, like an early warning system.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Next question is from Jordan. Why are children who die earthbound?
Children usually go over without any problems whatsoever to the spirit world. They don't have the same hang-ups that we have as adults, you know, so they usually don't have problems. However, they can be not particularly earthbound as in trapped earthbound, but want to be around those that they've left behind. So, you know, want to be around mum or dad or brothers or sisters, or even friends want to be around them, because they're still able to play. They're still able to do the things that they did when they were on the earth plane. They can still play in the same way. So they want to be around. So they're not actually earthbound. They just choose to be part of the earth energy because their loved ones are still here, or they want to let the loved ones know that they're still here and they're all right. I had a case that we went to where there was a lady who, she had a little boy, but she'd lost a child years earlier. So the two children had never actually physically met. And when we got to the house, this little boy was there in spirit, was playing with the other child's toys, so turning them on and off all the time. And she was getting a bit freaked out by it. It's like, oh, you know, it's because she'd lost one child. Is somebody coming to take my son? She was really, really worried about it. And it turned out to be her son in spirit who wanted to play with his brother, even though they'd never met on the earth plane. Once we told her what was happening, she said, oh right, okay, well I'll buy extra toys then. So she ended up buying extra toys, which was really, really rather lovely. But they can become earthbound if there is trauma. So if something has happened to them very traumatically, they may need a little bit of help and guidance in going over. But I've always found that loved ones in spirit will come forward in cases like that and sort of take them under the wing and, you know, and guide them over. And that's been my experience anyway so far.
But do you think that parents should listen to their children? Because we often hear stories of children having invisible friends.
Definitely.
And they talk to their invisible friends, you know, upstairs or downstairs or in their bedroom and everything. So maybe we should listen more to that and not think of it as, wow, there's something wrong with you. maybe they are speaking to invisible friends.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know, when I read that question, I know Jackie answered it obviously perfectly. I wasn't sure what they meant by earthbound. I didn't know whether they meant stuck spirit, but the thing the episode that takes me back to is, do you remember Over the Rainbow and little Sarah?
Yes.
And the little boy who was stuck, he was calling out to Sarah, wanting her to help him because she reminded him of his sister, who was Sadie, but her name was Sarah, but she was called Sadie. And the little girl in the house was Sarah, who was a rainbow child. And as we were leaving the property, this is after we'd done the rescue and everything, the little boy, there was an actual rainbow in the sky. And I always wondered whether the viewers thought that was photoshopped in or something, but it was an actual rainbow. I was really overcome with that. I just thought, what fantastic confirmation from Spirit that it's another job well done, because this was such a little tot. She was just such a lovely little girl, and she'd be grown up now, Sarah.
Yeah, she is.
Would she?
And that was the Hillsborough episode, as I
Yes,
recall.
it was. Yeah, Hillsborough. Yeah.
So if viewers want to, go on Very Paranormal and check out Hillsborough, you'll see the rainbow at the end. And I can assure you, it was not photoshopped.
Yeah.
But it was dreamy. It was fantastic.
One of my favourites, that, definitely. She was a star, wasn't she, that little girl?
Yeah, she was. And, as we walked away from the property and looked back, I think there was nobody more surprised than us to see that.
I know. I know.
What do you think she would be like now, little Sarah? Do you think she would be very clairvoyant and medium?
She'd what? Sorry.
Do you think she'd be very clairvoyant now, little Sarah?
Oh, that's not going to go away, I'm sure. Sometimes we push it away, as we get a bit older, but she was just so psychic that she will still have the gift, definitely.
I've been in touch with her fairly recently, actually.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, she's doing absolutely fine, and that sensitivity is never going to go away.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great. Now, talking of different episodes and things, it'd be fun to talk about some of the more challenging episodes that maybe the viewers didn't get to know about, because all we got to see was every problem solved, in less than 30 minutes, and Michael knows the exact time. But Edna, could you tell us about a challenging episode?
Yes, in fact, there are many that are challenging. And the one that comes to mind is one that was challenging for every single member of the crew, all of us, because we had to do all of the filming in the middle of the night. Do you remember at the in Firkin?
In the pub, yeah.
Yes.
They had to close, of course, they had to keep their business running. So our only option was to film at night, and we're not used to the night shift.
No.
So it was so challenging. And I remember some of the crew members, there was one asleep on the table at one point, and just to stay awake and to focus, that episode was so challenging in that aspect.
Yeah, and we had a snowstorm as well, didn't we? So yeah, we arrived in a snowstorm as well. So you've got the challenge of you can't have the heating on, you can't have anything that makes a noise. So the refrigerators are turned off so that the noise doesn't interfere with the recording as well. The feeling was very, because it was in the night, through the night, because we have worked in the night, but not right the way through till the morning time. And of course, everything is heightened at night. And so, you could hear the sounds of the building. And so, it makes you a little bit more on edge, I think, when you do that. It took us out of our comfort zone entirely. You're absolutely right, Edna.
Well, the other challenging one, and Edna, correct me if I've got the name wrong, the McLaughlin Inn, when we arrived, the town had a complete blackout. So we lit candles everywhere.
That was Kirkwood.
Kirkwood, thank you.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, attempting to do the filming with, well, when you had no power and electricity, that was going to be a challenge. Fortunately, I think the next day the lights came on.
Yes, they did.
But that's right.
But then the next day a tree fell through the roof. Right?
It fell
Yes,
through the window. Oh gosh, yeah.
Where we were sitting, that's right. It was the same night as the power outage. So everything was lit with candles, which it was a wonderful atmosphere. But we hadn't started.
Oh, beautiful.
At that point, when the tree fell down on us.
Well, I agree with you. It's a great atmosphere, but it's very difficult and challenging for filming.
And do you think it was the spirits that you had gone to rescue that were behind that?
I don't think it was just Mother Nature doing her thing. It just happened to coincide with spirits, you know, with what was happening. The uncanny thing about that is 100 years previously, there was a storm on the same night 100 years previously, and it was nuns who had been there at the time, and they were looking to replace the window. They hadn't got enough money to do it, and fortunately for the nuns, a tree came through the window and they were able to have that window replaced. And it was 100 years later when we were there, we didn't know it at the time, the exact same thing happened.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, I suppose spirit could be behind that. There was certainly divine intervention where the nuns were concerned, and divine intervention because we had to move out of the way of the window. And that if a member of the crew, Mike Andringa, one of the cameramen, he it recognizes the sound of a tree that's about to go because he lived in the countryside. So he, all of a sudden we stopped talking and he went, I know that sound, we have to move. And we all moved, we just all ran and moved. And the next thing, the tree came through the window. If we hadn't moved, it hit us. Yeah.
So no one was hurt?
No one was hurt. No.
Just
And we finished dinner. We finished dinner. So, you know, we were good.
Timing. What timing?
Okay, sorry. There was another technical challenge, I think, that I was thinking of, and that was when we had to film in very small, tight spaces.
Oh.
The crew was, they preferred the large spaces because they could move around and we could all fit in. But when it was a small space, it was very challenging for them. And also, I guess when you ladies were going after a spirit and moving fast, and no one would know exactly where you were going to go, and the space is limited to move.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the annex, that was a really tiny apartment.
Mm.
And then I'm also thinking of the rescue that was in the bathroom.
Oh gosh, yes.
That was tiny in the Cambridge episode.
Yeah. Is that the one because we did one with me, or is this an earlier one?
No, it's with
me?
you.
Yeah, I do remember being in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Is it the one I'm thinking of? Weren't we guided by a lady in spirit that moved us around from room to room, and then we ended up in the bathroom, didn't we, sitting on the edge of the bath?
That's the episode. Yeah, that's the episode where the crystals split into two. Do you remember?
That's it. The lapis lazuli. It did, and we put them together, and
that's right. And it was like pieces all together. You know, that's how authentic our show is, because you wouldn't choose to do a spirit rescue in a small bathroom. You know, and you've got the added problem because there's mirrors in a bathroom, and so you know the camera crew had to position themselves in such a way that they could see us, but they weren't seeing in the mirrors themselves. So that was a huge challenge for them. I did another bathroom episode, and that was in one of the very early ones, in, oh gosh, where we all did the karaoke at the end of the night.
Oh, yeah, wasn't that Churchill?
No, we've done a karaoke there as well.
Yes.
Oh gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can see that it had been a club. It's not there anymore. It's been knocked down.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie, that's it. Yes, C'est la vie. And that one was another one where we were in a bathroom area, and it was uncomfortable for the gentlemen because it was in the ladies' toilets where the part of the rescue took place. So yeah, it just goes to show how authentic it is, because we wouldn't choose to be there. We'd be somewhere nice and comfortable where we could sit down and, you know, not sitting in a bathroom.
We'd be in a spa or something, wouldn't we?
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's for the big budget shows.
Yes.
and because we're real and we don't have a big budget, I think that's what makes our show more accessible and more real and more. This is the truth.
Absolutely.
What we
It's
are.
authentic. Yeah.
Have you got any more for us, Edna?
Well, I was thinking of another challenge. Do you remember when the homeowners were first had their premonitions revealed to them, and you'd sit down with them, and they were told ahead of time, don't give too much information away. Like, don't, you know, when you gave a clue to them, don't say, oh yes, that's what happened last night, and this happened, and like they had to limit what they'd say. However, sometimes they were so afraid of giving too much information that they'd put on a stone face.
Yeah.
And they were afraid to comment. And you needed the affirmation to know that you were somewhat on the right track.
Yes.
So it's a very fine balance between giving away too much or just the right amount for confirmation of what they were saying.
Or not enough, not anything at all.
That's right.
Because sometimes, because sometimes when we got that, you would feel a bit disconcerted, because we do believe 100% what our spirit guides are sharing with us, whether it's the psychic art or the premonitions and both. And then obviously if you've got this and they're not saying, you know, yes or no, and that's all we need really. If they're not saying that, then you're like, oh, we've not quite got this right, so this is going to be difficult. You know, so yeah, that's a really good point, Edna, definitely.
Yeah. And then you get the others that tell you everything, and you're going,
yes,
no, don't tell us anymore. We need to be able to tell you.
Yeah.
Would you, in a sense, have to cut off the energy after you did the interview with the homeowners and then regroup just the two of you, your energies together, so that their energy wasn't interfering with going around the house?
Yeah, but the homeowners didn't walk around the property with us.
Right.
In the early days, what we would do is, in the very early episodes, we would walk around the property to see where we got a feel for before we would record, before we would start to record. We would go around, so especially if it was a big property, we would say, oh, well, we feel in that. So Edna would walk around with us and make notes of things. As we were, the only thing with that was that we lost the initial response, the initial reaction, you know, so that if we had to say, oh, well, we felt this earlier, or reminding ourselves of what we felt earlier, or Edna would prompt us, you know, that this is what you were feeling earlier, with that. And so it that stopped the flow of it. So we decided to not do that, to go in and to, it's what you get is what you see. Because
And
that's
it's a
how we like to
surprise
do it anyway.
Surprise element as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And one thing that I just loved it was, obviously the crew would go, but me and Jackie never knew where we were going. The crew would go with Michael and Edna to the property. And obviously, and then we would be driven by our director to the property. And as I mean, sometimes some of the premonitions that they got, you could see by the outside of the property, oh look, we've got donkeys, and there's donkeys, and so on. But when you go into the property, the excited looks on some of the camera guys and the rest of the crew, like, ooh, you know, because of the premonitions that we initially did at the very start, they've listened to. And obviously then they're hearing what the homeowners are saying, and they're seeing things in the property. So they're piecing everything together themselves. And what they love is the surprise look on mine and Jackie's face as we walk into a room, if we've drawn the rug that's in there, or say if Jackie's drawn a doll that's in that room or something, and obviously we've never been there. So I think the surprise element on so many levels is just, that is what makes it so authentic. One of the things that makes the show really authentic. I used to.
No, I agree. One other thing, if I may just say, from a producer standpoint, is for any homeowner that's watching this, we thank you so much, because they do leave. I mean, I take them out for pizza or something, like we go somewhere, and it's often rare that you'll see somebody that would just say, yeah, okay, me casa y tu casa, and just say, like, yeah, you stay in this home and do what you need to do. And every homeowner, I believe every single one has done that. And I think that's amazing, because a lot of people don't want to give up access to their home or whatever. But most of these people are like, I think it's because they believe in you too. And that's why they do it.
That's so lovely. That's so nice.
Yeah.
You know,
To trust us. Yeah. And Edna always has, wherever we go, Edna is always the holder of the keys.
Yes.
Wherever we stay, if we're on location, and we're staying because it's too far to drive backwards and forwards back, you know, to Toronto. So Edna always ends up with the keys. I mean, Coburg Jail, when we stayed at Coburg Jail,
I was
Edna
thinking
had
of the
the
same
keys.
one. I was thinking of Coburg. And I remember the next morning, because we were staying over there because we were filming somewhere near there. And I said to you two, God, those people were noisy last night, weren't they? I could hear people walking above me, sort of on the ceiling. It sounded like on the ceiling of the room I was in. And Edna went, there's only us staying here. I heard it distinctly. So we obviously had company there, didn't we?
Yeah. They could have invited us to the party, couldn't
They
they?
could have done, but massive, like loads of keys that Edna had. And yeah.
We've got photographs of you with all the keys. I'll have to find them, Edna.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
the main reason Edna gets the keys rather than I is because she's far more trustworthy and won't lose them. Whereas, as Edna knows, I will probably lose them.
I was always very impressed with the trust of homeowners, though, and what they would share with me. They would give me precious family albums to take home and peruse, things that were so valuable and irreplaceable. You know, they were so trusting, and it was so appreciated.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how people respond to this. And you know, I mean, they obviously want to deal with what spirits are in their house, and but they become completely trusting. You know, so I mean, I sometimes wonder if their spirit guides, which they are not maybe aware of, are telling them, no, just trust them. You'll get the photo album back. You'll get all of this back, and we won't rob you.
Oh, and Edna, when you do the initial interview with the homeowners before Jackie and Alison get there, and someone is very skeptical, or more than one person is very skeptical, and yet they allow the show to happen. They allow their things to be looked through and so on. How does that feel different than to a house where everyone is completely open and super eager to have Jackie and Alison go through?
Most of the time, they wanted us there. They wanted the help, and they were trusting and very forthcoming, and they agreed to participate and help us as much as they could. It was very rare, I think, that someone was reluctant or hesitant to help in that way. And certainly I would never ask, if they were willing to let me take away some of their valuable items to peruse, that was wonderful. But certainly if there was any reluctance or hesitation, I tried to find another way of doing it. Maybe I could take a photograph of it or work it through that way.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the things that I noticed in our research when we go out to places, and this isn't meant to sound sexist against men, but usually the males were the least open. The females were the most open. That's my experience. And the males, although some of them were not closed, but they weren't like, oh my God, yeah, we have a ghost. Whereas the females would be like, yeah, we have a ghost. And so I found that interesting. Mm-hmm. Especially the one time when we went to Wolf Island.
I was just thinking about Wolf Island. Yeah, yeah, literally just thinking about that.
Because Rod, the fellow who he and his wife owned this wonderful, wonderful mansion on Wolf Island. He was an ex-biker, like an ex-heavy-duty biker. And he was big, strong, he swore, he did everything. But at the end of Rescue Mediums doing what they did, he completely believed. And he even invited his biker friends over from the Rock Machine, which is a big bike thing in Quebec, in Canada, and invited them over to see the show. Wow. And I remember he just looked at me once and he just said, Michael, don't you make me look stupid. And I was like, oh no, that's never going to happen. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's so bizarre, because that's exactly what I was, as you said that, I mean, how in tune are we? You know, as you said that, that's it. I was thinking about Rod and Martha from Wolf Island. Yeah. Because in the the show and tell, when we were talking to Rod and Martha, I think one of the things was broken glass. In the premonition, they've got broken glass, and that happened to him. He heard the sound of broken glass, and he looked, and there was no broken glass there, and he was so blown away by the fact that we've got it in the premonitions. That he actually
he walked all around his house and found no broken glass. Because I remember him phoning me, and I won't say the expletives that he said, but he said, you know, well, I walked all around my house and I couldn't find any broken glass, and I don't know what is going on, but he's a believer now.
He is a believer. Yeah, I'm a believer. There you go. It's a song in everything.
Jackie and Alison, do you think spirits show themselves more to men or women, or is it just how people take it in?
I think it's just how they take. You know, there's no. To me, I think women. I think Michael's right in what he was saying, that women are far more open to it. But I found over the years, and Alison's probably found the same thing, with like spiritual development classes. It used to be predominantly women coming to learn how to channel their clairvoyant abilities and to understand about the spiritual development. But now we have an awful lot of males who are also interested in that. There's more males that now come for readings. that maybe didn't do before. So they are becoming more and more open. Have you found that, Alison, as well?
I found sort of when I was teaching in the UK, there was a balance between male and female in classes. But here I'm finding it's more females. And I don't know the reason why. I mean, I know in my last year when we just finished the level 3 class, had one man in the class and the rest were women. But he really enjoyed it, you know, because he was, you know, he was spoiled basically. So I think he like quite
Alison, when you say here, you mean Spain, right?
Sorry, I mean, yes, I should have said. I live in Spain now. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, expats that come here to retire. So they're retirement age. And, you know, sometimes one partner passes before the other. And, you know, there's a lot of ladies here on their own. But even the ladies that are married, you know, a lot of them would say to me, oh, my husband doesn't believe in anything like this. And you know, they still came, the ladies came, but they said, oh, my husband doesn't believe in this, but you know, they're happy for me to come and learn and so on. So I mean, I'm hoping it opens up. I mean, if my Spanish was better than it is, I feel that would open another avenue as well. And I mean, I have got a Spanish friend, but she speaks perfect English as well. So, you know, but I'm having Spanish lessons, but I must admit, being honest, I don't find it easy. I get by, but I want to have conversations in Spanish, like proper conversations. But yeah, my classes here are predominantly female. I've had 1 or 2 men in the classes, but when it was in the UK, it was both.
I know this is a deeper question and not something that we are really able to officiate on, is that in different cultures in the world, men and women are absolutely treated differently. And so as a male, is the machismo of the male in a place like Spain sort of like, no, this is ridiculous. Whereas the machismo of a male in a place like the Philippines would be more like, yeah, I'd like to listen to what you have to say. I just wonder if that's all part of the equation somehow.
Yeah, I mean, here in Spain, you know, the Spanish, they are very religious. It's a Catholic country. Yeah. But I'm noticing now there's more of the young Spanish people are getting more open to the spirit world, whereas the older generation just, you know, separate both. You know, they're big church goers, Catholic. Yeah. So, and I mean, we have the most amazing processions, and you know, it's a beautiful place to be. Although obviously, you know, because of what's happened this year, all of them have been cancelled. But yeah, it's an interesting thought, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. Or over there. So do they retain the same cultural beliefs, doctrines that they had when they were alive? So say some religious person in Spain passed away that only knew church, are they necessarily going to come through to a medium in a way that will identify themselves properly to the people they left behind? I guess they would, wouldn't they?
Yes,
you know,
they can do.
I found, because I have a lot of people who come, there's a lot of Polish people that live in the UK. Yeah. So I've got a lot of clients that are from Poland. I've also got Portuguese clients as well. So amongst others. So I've found that when I'm communicating with their spirit loved ones, what matters is the connection. They want to connect with their loved ones on the earth plane. Even if that person in spirit could not speak English. Right. It doesn't matter that I don't speak Portuguese, or I don't speak Italian, or I don't speak Spanish, or it doesn't matter, because the thought is the same in any language.
Mhm.
It's just a different name that we give to it. So when you're in spirit, you don't work with speech, you work with thought patterns. And so the thought patterns, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to interpret in the right way because there is a cultural difference.
Mhm.
But you can still make that communication in that way. And I found that spirit loved ones will still communicate no matter what. It's great if you've got an interpreter there who can interpret. And I've never spoken in foreign tongues yet. If they want me to do that, I'm open to doing that, but they haven't actually asked me to do that yet. But that's how I found that communication. It doesn't matter what language you speak, the thought is still the same.
Yeah.
Do you think that when somebody passes over, and say, as you say, in Spain, they're very religious, and in other countries, they're very religious, do you think they hold the religious belief in the afterlife? Or do you think the afterlife sort of disrobes them of the religious belief?
I think it's an essence of how they were on the earth plane. I mean, Jack is absolutely right. You know, if I'm doing, say if I do like my friend Manoli, who's Spanish, if I'm doing a reading for her, and one of her, you know, say if her grandmother comes through, who's Spanish, who's never spoken any English, I understand what she's saying to me, but I wouldn't be able to sort of speak in Spanish to Manoli, do you know what I mean? But spirit comes through like that. I feel that it's, when a loved one from spirit comes through, as confirmation for their loved one on the earth plane, they bring through the essence of who they were on the earth plane, because their loved one on the earth plane will recognize that that's who it is. So for example, if they were very religious, you know, I might see, I mean, it doesn't always happen like this, but this is just an example. I might see them holding a Bible, or I might see a church behind them, and I'll say, oh, there's a church here, and I'll explain what that's like. They hold a Bible. Oh yes, they were very religious. If they were a drinker, you know, if they're a bit of a boozer on the earth plane, it doesn't mean to say that they're drunk in spirit. But what they will very often do, and it's happened to me when I'm doing platform work and thinking, oh, I'm feeling a bit woozy here. And I'll say, oh, I've got so-and-so for me. He's given me the name Tom. And he was a bit of a drinker, wasn't he? And they go, oh, that's Tom. He used to come home from the pub singing songs and all that. So it's not that they're drunk in spirit, but they will give the essence of their personality as they were on the earth plane as confirmation for their loved one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I love your expression, drunk in spirit, because when they were alive, they were drunk in spirit.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe they just cut it back when they passed over.
A different kind of spirit, Michael.
Definitely.
Yes, I know.
It went into the light beer.
Oh.
I know.
Oh dear. That is worthy of a cheers, and I think we need to do a big cheers now. Let's do a cheers to all the homeowners who have been so you know, gracious to allow Edna to have the keys and for us all to invade their homes.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay.
Cheers.
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 Everybody.
Cheers.
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 And thanks to everyone who wrote in as well, and thanks to everyone for being here.